I follow, and she's a good friend of ours. I don't know if you know Dr. Karen Sullivan. She's a neuropsychologist, and I've had her on the show a few times, and she's awesome back east. And I sent her my MRIs and all my notes from back in 10 years ago. She said the reason I had my stroke, which I never knew, they said, oh, you're just born with it, just a matter of time. She said, oh, you had your stroke is because of a sinus disease. And it just built up, and it just popped up.
Interesting.
Yeah, I never knew that until just probably 2 months ago.
And 10 years later, and you're just finding out now what caused your stroke of 10 years ago.
Yeah, and it wasn't from my neurologist, It was from Karen.
That's something interesting, because I know with me, they're like, I have no family history. So they said, they're like, I think you were just born with it. I'm like,
oh, really?
Like, they were, because it was so big. They said my aneurysms, they said it was like a snowman. It was 2 big balls on top of each other. And so they were like, I don't think, because I was like, well, they just kept asking me if I'd smoked cigarettes, and I didn't. I was like, I don't, they gross me out. And I was like, they just kept asking me that. I'm like, that's not what caused it. Like, I don't smoke cigarettes. So what's the next thing? And they were like, I guess you were just born with it. And it just decided to rupture.
Yeah, I should have smoked cigarettes.
So hearing a sinus, though, it's very interesting. I feel like the more you talk to survivors, you find other things out that.
Yeah, I'd never heard that before. That's very interesting. So like a sinus condition?
Well, it's funny because I noticed it over the last 2 months. I was so used to, the crickets sound like buzzing or whatever. I hear that all the time, like, especially like now I don't because we're talking and stuff, but right in bed, I'm sitting there, I can hear, the crickets like humming, and I can hear that. And I always sneeze and just cough and all that. I just thought it's normal. And so she recommended I need to go see an ENT. So I will after this COVID, and I'll just deal with the humming, whatever. But that's what she said.
So you hear a constant humming, which is from your sinuses?
That's what, I hear it all the time because I ask my kids, my wife, everybody. They don't hear everything. They think I'm just kind of cuckoo, and that's okay.
I'm glad you said that. No, because I do that sometimes. Like, I hear things, so like I'll ask Patrick. I'll be like, "Do you hear that, or have I gone crazy?" Yeah. And I say that every time. I'm like, I'm just waiting for the time where you're like, I do not hear that.
Yeah.
Which sometimes he doesn't. Yeah.
Well, good to hear that. Not good to hear that, but I know, I understand. And she said to me, and I also have, I don't know, you guys, I take 3,000 milligrams of Keppra a day and 400 milligrams of Vimpat a day, which is obviously for seizures. And I have seizures. If anybody needs to know out there that had a stroke about a seizure, I can tell you exactly how to handle a seizure, because I've had them all. And like, I've had 2 already this year, and I'm getting pretty good at how to do this. I've had them many times.
Well, please, tell us so that, someone's listening, if you could help them.
Yeah, well, for me, when I hear, I've been told they're called breakthrough seizures. So you get a lot of lightning going up in your head, and all of a sudden one pops through, of the seizure medicine, and it causes a seizure. And it usually happens on my affected side. So when I start to feel it, first thing I do is stand up. And sometimes that will work right away, and it goes away. Sometimes if it happens and I don't stand up in time, it starts, shaking. I just hang on. And I've had several that have passed me out, grand mal seizures. And there was one time this past year, I had a seizure. It was so bad. I was actually talking to a friend of mine, like we're doing now, and I started mumbling. He said, "Oh my gosh, something's up." So I keep my phone 24/7. I mean, it's everywhere I go because of this. So I clicked my wife on the phone. She's at the nail thing, getting her nails done, and she knew something's up. When I call her, she knows something's going on. So she left without paying, and she just raced home, and the ambulance was already here. Took me to the hospital, and my doctor, this is how not good I was. Well, it's too bad, my neurologist that I have now. he says, why do you go to the hospital every time you have a seizure? I said, wait till you have a stroke and you see what you do.
So how often have the seizures just happened after your stroke? You didn't get them before, and then how often do they happen?
I was in great shape. I don't want to show you a picture, but I was really good. I was in really good shape. I mean, really good shape, and never had seizures, never anything. But looking back at some of the businesses that I've been in, I can look back and think, wow, I did sneeze and had all these things. So I'm starting to figure out all that stuff. But yeah, I've had seizures ever since my stroke, about a year after I started having them. Not all the time, but at least.
So not right away? You said in like a year. Okay, that's very interesting.
Why, like, what would make it start, like, why would it wait a year to start happening?
I don't know. It's funny because when I first got on all the medication, it increased after time. Every time I had a seizure, my doctor increased the medication. And so that I'm due for a blood panel, for everything to be worked up to see, if I can get off some of it. And I forgot the other night to take my pills. I have no idea. And then I got up to get in the shower. I had to sit down because I couldn't stand. So that stuff must be working.
Like immediate, like if you don't take your medicine.
I'm pretty religious on taking my meds, but the other night, for some reason, I forgot. I know I've heard people say, oh, set alarm. I mean, 10 years, I know what to do, but I had a brain.
We slip up sometimes. We're human and we have a brain injury. Like you said, 10 years I've been doing it. I messed up one night.
Exactly, Tawnie. And so I messed up and then went to get in the shower, and holy smokes, I stood up and I said, I turned the water off and had to sit down. And took my meds and just waited about, a few hours. I was brand new again, got in the shower. It's amazing. That stuff really helps.
Really? So the Keppra and
the MedPack.
The MedPack help with making that the seizures don't happen.
Yeah, they actually they wanted me to put this, I can't remember what it's called, to put in your chest and into your brain. And if you're going to have a seizure, the thing zaps you or does something to your, I don't know what it's called, but
Interesting.
I've heard about that. I'm trying to think of the name of it.
That does sound vaguely familiar.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I wish I could remember. I was trying to prepare, but I have so much stuff scattered all over here. So
listen, we'll do a follow-up interview with the cool way that you taught us, and then you can.
Yes.
And then we'll be able to know it.
Yeah, I would love to, because I tell you guys are gonna thrive on that. That's just pretty.
I'm so excited. This sounds right up our alley, Tawnie.
I'm so glad, because seriously, today I was like, I still can't figure out how to get it back to the podcast. Like, I'm dropping the ball there. So knowing we have this different avenue, we can make it.
But it's funny when I watch you guys and I comment, you're responding to me. So having a stroke, I thought we're all live. Then.
Oh, you mean like on Instagram? Like when we have an Instagram live?
Yeah, you do those too.
Yeah. We love those. And luckily, that's why I feel like that consistently has gone good. It's just we've tried these other projects and it just seems like technology has not been our friend.
No, it's not with the podcast, the YouTube.
I know. Yeah. We still can't access our very first couple podcasts. They're like,
we don't know what they are.
And I show them screenshots. No, I'm like, how is this out there then if that account doesn't exist? Like, just give me the passwords, let me have it. And they're like, it says, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, not to go sideways here, but whatever you just said, because my therapy, I've done therapy 6 months a year for 10 years. I consistently go all the time, except this year. And I've always been taught, speed is not your friend.
This is true, and it's something I always forget.
Yeah.
And I think we also forget, how much we are overcoming. I know that I have a tendency to just be more hard and think of today, instead of being like, hey, we're going to do an interview and a live, I'm like, you didn't do the anchor or that.
Right, you focus on all the things that you're like, oh, I should have done that too. Like, But we can't do it all, and we do have to cut ourselves some slack because we are doing a lot, and we did have brain injuries.
Yes, it's so true. And I do that too, because I've been told that when I do my interviews, I start to talk and then I forget what I was going to ask them. So now I'm at a point where I put on my screen what I'm going to ask, even though I know what to ask.
No, that's a little reminder. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that. But it's I just put a Word document before it and I put it there. No one can see the Word document, and so that I don't forget.
Yeah, no, that's a great tip. And that's something I know when Tawnie and I first started doing interviews and podcasts, I used to do a similar thing where I would take notes before so I'd remember what to ask, and then I really fell off the ball on doing that, and now we just kind of wing it and go in and just start talking. But that's a great idea to have.
Yeah, there's some cool things. I mean, I know you're probably busy, but after this I could do a 2-minute show you on how that restern works, to send you a link. You guys are gonna awesome.
Oh, maybe, yeah, because I think anyways, this Zoom is probably going to end in 2 minutes because I think we have 40 minutes, but should we hop on a call and look into the restream?
Do you want me to send you a link both